we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun.
Hey guys, and welcome to Leave Her Wild. Isaac is currently unmasking the bus because it is officially painted, which is super exciting. But that meant that I couldn't come in here to work while it was being painted, so I decided I would do a Q&A for you guys. And so you guys left some comments. So on my community tab on my channel, I asked you guys if there was any questions that you'd like to ask that I could answer for you during this video, and you guys had some questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and answer some of those for you. And what do you guys think of the painted bus? I am in love, and I'm really happy with how it came out. So I'm curious to see what you guys think. So let's go ahead and start with these questions. They're in no particular order. So Jan says, I've always wondered the significance of wild. Could it be so simple that it's your last name? Love watching your channels. You two are doing everything right, living within your means and not getting into piles of debt. There isn't really a big significance with wild. My channel is called Leave Her Wild, and it was inspired by the song Leave Her Wild by Tyler Rich. I'm actually good friends with Tyler Rich's tour manager, and I've met him. I love his relationship with his wife. He just supports her in a way that he doesn't try and change her or control her. He loves her for exactly who she is, and one of her favorite poems is the poem Leave Her Wild by Atticus, and it inspired that song. And I really liked the whole idea and the concept. And after being in a really toxic and mentally and emotionally abusive relationship myself, I was inspired to never be with someone who wasn't going to allow me to be exactly who I am and not love me for exactly who I am. And that's kind of what inspired Leave Her Wild. So no big significance of Leave Her Wild. And then wild also kind of has to do with the fact that we're nomads and we like to be in the wild and on the road, and so that kind of ties into it as well. Becca says, I have a few questions for you, Jelena. When is the lease up on the shop? I missed that nugget of info along the way. Also, are you guys going to have somewhere safe to store all of your construction tools and equipment while you're on the road? Lastly, will the new property in Oregon be your home base when you guys need a break from travel? Your new home on wheels is beautiful. It's better constructed than most commercial RVs all around, I imagine. So, first question is, when is the lease up on the shop? We have the shop, our normal shop, for another year, and we have this big bay that's connected to the shop that we don't normally have until the end of February. Right now, the property that we did buy here in Oregon, we're still kind of on the fence of what we want to do with it. So yes, it could be our home base if we would like it to, but we also have other home bases as well here in Oregon that aren't necessarily our property, but places that we know that we can go if we need to. As of right now, that could most definitely be our home base if we need it to be. Where will we store all of our construction tools and equipment while on the road? I think once we actually start to move into the bus, we are going to take a little break, and we're going to downsize big time, and we're going to get rid of a lot of our stuff. But as far as the tools and construction stuff go, we still need to build out Minion to sell it. And so they'll still all stay here at the shop. Like I said, we have this for another year. But once Minion's sold and we're actually on the road full time and Isaac's not going to be building so much, we might store some of the bigger tools and maybe like a storage unit, or put some type of storage building on that property that we have and store the bigger tools there. And everything else that we think we might need, we'll just take with us and keep it on the bus with us, just in case we need it while we're on the road. I hope that answered all your questions. Some of these comments that you guys left were just words of love, and I just want to thank you guys who did comment and didn't ask a question, but just shared your kind words and thoughts with us. We love you guys. And also, I was debating on whether I was going to do this as a live chat or a straight video, and a lot of you suggested a straight video, so here we are. I heard you. So Terry says, first, I know Isaac wants a deck on top, but is there enough room with the solar panels? So we have 6 solar panels on the roof with room for 1 more, maybe 2. I'm not sure. But we have the back half of the bus. So if you see this AC unit here, I think that the deck's gonna start at the back of that AC unit and go all the way back, and we'll have a pretty big deck. And the skylight in the back is a marine hatch, so we can open the skylight and come in and out from the inside to get onto the roof, kind of like it was in Schooliana. So that's going to be really exciting. So yes, we will have a deck with plenty of room for solar. 2, have you guys got any ideas for a name for the bus? No. I don't think that we felt it come yet. I think we're just gonna take it as it comes. We're not trying to come up with anything. I think that, you know, one day it's just gonna come to us. So we don't have a name yet. 3, will you miss not having a table to sit down and eat meals together? We don't really sit down and eat meals together now. We do, but like not at a table. So no, but we will have lagoon mount tables in here. So we can sit down and eat meals together at a table if we want to, but we'll probably just pull the couch out and eat on our pull-out couch while we watch a movie or something. That's typically what we do. So no need for a table. Everyone's different, and we don't sit down and eat at a table. We just like to sit down and eat together, no matter where we are. Sometimes, you know, especially when we're on the road, we'll probably be at a place where we'd like to go outside and eat outside. And we'll probably have like a fold-out table and some chairs that we can, you know, eat outside and enjoy the outdoors, because that's the whole point of living as a nomad, you know, given the weather. 4, do you plan to get an alarm system, something like Simply Safe, that only costs about $20 a month and is a very good system? Yes, and I think we're actually considering Simply Safe. So, yes. 5, will you be adding a mural on the bus after it's painted? So that was the plan, but after seeing it painted the way it is and looking at the grooves and stuff in the side of the bus, we're still considering it, but we are also considering maybe doing some type of wrap instead. It might be easier for us and for whoever is doing it. So that's that. So Dawn says, my question is, what has been the most challenging project on the build? I feel like no matter what build I'm doing, most parts I feel like are the most challenging, and then you get done and you're like, thank God that's over, and then you start on the next project and you realize that's challenging too. So it's all, every step of the way has its own challenges, and I wouldn't say that there was one thing that was like the most challenging. It's all challenging every step of the way. And of course there are some projects that are just easier, like cutting the cushions. That's super easy. Like our shower door was supposed to be super easy, turned into a mission, which you guys will see in probably my next video. But yeah, I feel like it's just, your challenges come every step of the way, and it's different for everyone. Barbara says, hello, I was wondering if you guys have done anything with your property or made any decisions on how to utilize it. We, like I said earlier, are still debating. It's all still up in the air when it comes to the property. We're not quite sure if we want to build an Airbnb, if we want to, because an Airbnb is just like side income that we don't necessarily have to do anything. Like once it's built, that's just, you know, income coming in, and then we can also just stay there whenever we want. But then we're like, should we build something and just sell it so that we can get what we actually want? So there's just a lot of things up in the air with the property right now. We're not quite sure what we're gonna do with it. Melissa says, hello Jaylena, Isaac, and Ember. The bus is so beautiful. Are you painting the cabinets or leaving natural? We are going to be leaving all of these cabinets. This is pre-finished maple plywood, and so you're not even supposed to paint this. So we're leaving all these, and then we'll treat this outer edge. Someone suggested that we like cover it up with that stuff that makes it look like it's not, like it makes it look like the cabinet. We did this on purpose. We want you to see this. We really like that look. So we're gonna treat this, and then we are going to leave the cabinets just the way they are. Tanya says, okay, I have a couple questions. Have you ever considered being a writer? You could write a children's book about living in a bus house and all of the adventures you can have by having a home that goes with you wherever you are. So to answer that question, yes, I took creative writing in school, and my creative writing teacher really encouraged me to continue writing. And although I didn't necessarily follow that path, and I did stop writing for a long time, I have considered it, and I am planning on writing at least one book down the line at some point. I don't know if I'll write a children's book, but that could be fun. Maybe after we're on the road and experiencing those adventures, that would be something fun to do. And maybe when Ember's old enough, her and I can write it together, or all three of us can write it together. But yes, I have. Question 2, do you have a plan to own property near your family in the future? And if so, would you want to have a homestead type setup or something else? I think we'll definitely always have property here in Oregon, and maybe in the future, I don't know what that's going to look like, but maybe possibly have land in Texas as well for us to just have. And if we do that, it would be another Airbnb, and then we could just stay there when we were in town. I probably will not necessarily do the full out homesteading thing again, just because there were aspects of that I didn't necessarily enjoy. That could be due to other reasons, not necessarily what it was, but if I were to have property and we were settled and we weren't traveling and we knew we weren't going to travel at all or not very often, there are some things that I would like to have, like a garden. I would like to have chickens, maybe goats. I wouldn't get too crazy with the animals though. They are a lot of responsibility, and especially goats can get a little aggressive and they like to escape. So you got to make sure that you really have them set up and make sure that they're happy, because if they're not happy, you're not happy. Carol says, straight videos are less chaotic. I watch those through to the end. Lives don't hold my attention. I'm loving the new true crime channel. Thank you. If you guys don't know, I have a true crime channel called Jaylenadunn, and it's usually in the description of all my videos. Will you continue this when the three of you hit the road? Yes. I want to. Right now I'm just kind of doing whatever cases I feel like doing, but in the future while we're traveling, I would like to do cases that are local to where we visit. And your other question was, will you increase the amount of videos per week? The answer to that as well is I hope so. I would like to post as often as I can on that channel, but it just really depends. But I do think that I'll be able to do more than one video a week on that channel once the bus is done. It's just really hard for me to do the research, do the video. Those videos take so much longer to edit than my normal videos, which you would think would not be the case because you just sit there and talk. But you sit there and talk for such a long period of time, and you have to go through and like edit out those short bouts of like nothingness. And if you say you got to edit out your ums. There's just a lot more editing that goes into those videos than my videos on Leave Her Wild. Being a mom, trying to build and finish this house, Isaac's out here every single day, no days off, and so anytime that I can work on that channel, it's usually when we have Debbie here to watch Ember. Other than that, I have no time to do the true crime channel. So I'm doing my best to just at least get out one video a week for now, and then once the bus is built and we're on the road, I hope to post at least 2 or more a week on that channel. Will you have a designated area in the bus to film? Yes, I think Isaac and I both will probably do any type of videos like this right here. And once the bus is finished, I mean, we could, face this way if we want to, or face that way if we want to, and sit on either side of the couch. But we really like how this looks with this background, so this is probably where I'll be doing most of the filming for that channel, right here. Unless I am doing a case locally and I can like go to where it actually happened, then I might film in a different location. Like I might film at the location. So that's the only difference. Have you always been a good storyteller? I think that we are all our own worst critics. So I don't necessarily know that I have always been a good storyteller, but like I said, I was in creative writing, and my creative writing teacher really encouraged me. He loved my work, and my mom was always my biggest fan, which whose mom isn't their biggest fan? But according to them, I have, and I would like to get back into writing. It's something that I've always loved, and I've kind of haven't, I guess with the true crime, I've kind of been able to kind of get back into storytelling. And so That's been nice, but I would like to do more writing that doesn't have to do with the true crime, just has to do with what I want to write personally. What drew you to true crime? Yeah, I'm nosy. Loving the questions, Carol. That's what this video is all about. Growing up, from a very young age, my mom and I would watch TV every single night before we go to bed, and we would watch like cold case files and forensic files, and I was just always intrigued by those types of TV shows and like unsolved mysteries and stuff. And so I just grew up watching that type of thing, and my mom is always interested in it too. So I guess I have her to thank for my true crime love, and it just kind of evolved from there. And when podcasts became a thing, the first podcast I ever listened to was Serial, her first season, which you couldn't stream on Spotify. You had to go to her website and listen to it on her website. And then you know, she also wrote everything out. She had pictures. It was really cool. But podcasting, especially true crime podcasts, weren't necessarily a thing when she started it. I think she was kind of the trailblazer for that. I'm definitely thankful for that, because there's so many true crime podcasts now, and I listen to a lot of them. And I hope that I can do just as good as they do on my true crime channel, because the more people are talking about some of these cases, the better, and the more awareness we can bring. So I hope that I'm doing it justice, but that's kind of what drew me to true crime in the first place, was my mom. So Melinda says 2 questions. 1, with all the beautiful work you've done on your past van and your 2 current buses, have you considered starting an interior decorating channel or artwork channel? Hint, hint. No. I'm just not really passionate about interior decorating. I love to decorate my own space, and that's about as far as that goes. And an artwork channel, I love art, and I took art throughout school, and my art teacher encouraged me to go to art school, art college. I never did. Art was something that I didn't necessarily want to do as a profession. I just love to do it because it's something that it's something that I'm passionate about personally, but I wouldn't necessarily want to start a channel. It's a lot of work to do a YouTube channel, and I have a lot going on already with the true crime channel and Leave Her Wild. So I have to choose wisely of what I want to really put my time and effort into. As far as art goes, I definitely have been thinking about getting back into drawing, but that would be something I did as a hobby and not something that I would want to put so much time and effort into, like having to film it and post it online, versus just doing it for fun because I feel like it and it's something that I love. I wouldn't want it to become a job. Question number 2, are you still set on Ember being your one and only child, or have you considered putting another bun in the oven so she can have a sibling again? Hint, hint. No. I am 100% positive that I'm not going to have any more children, and you can tell me that that's going to change in the future if you want to, if that makes you feel better, but I'm here to tell you that I'm not going to have any more kids, and that's just that. I'm not going to have any more kids. I know that that's not what a lot of people want to hear, but the thing is I think it's a touchy subject when people are constantly asking, when are you going to have kids in the first place, or have more kids, especially when that person, for an example like myself, has said many times, I don't plan on having any more kids and that's not going to change. And people continue to say, oh, you're going to change your mind. Oh, just wait till she's a year old and you want another newborn. Oh, you're going to want another newborn in a year, blah, blah, blah. Hormones. Even my mom does it. My family does it. Everyone does it to everyone. I have friends who don't have kids. You know, we're in our early 30s. And the question is something that we constantly get, and I think that my generation is a little bit different, and I think it's okay not to have children if you don't want children, and I think it's totally fine to only have one kid if you only want one kid. I had a really hard pregnancy, and I didn't think I could have kids in the first place, so I'm just grateful that I was able to have Ember, and I'm extremely happy with just her. That's that. I'm not going to have another child for the sake of anyone asking. I'm not going to have another child because my mom wants another grandkid, or because people think Ember should have a sibling. I know that's not something a lot of you wanted to hear, but that's where we're at. Gibby Gib said, I know you haven't had much experience with raising a little one in a house, but if you can name some things that are more challenging or easier having a little one in a van or bus versus sticks and bricks. I'm just talking about experiences when you and Ember were visiting family and friends. Although they weren't my children, I have tons of nieces and nephews, like 15, and I've done a lot of babysitting in my time. So I guess I can kind of give a little bit of perspective on this question. I think the biggest thing that is going to make a difference that I wish that we had in the bus that we would only have if we had a sticks and bricks house is a bathtub. So when we bathe Ember, for a little while we'll be able to bathe her in her little whale bath that she has now in our shower. But as she gets older, she's just gonna get cleaned in the shower, which is fine, but she loves bath time. So every now and then she'll be able to take a bath if we're visiting friends or family, or if we decide we want to get a hotel while we're on the road, or like an Airbnb and they have a bathtub, we'll be able to do bath time then. But she's not really going to have that in the bus. Other than that, I think it's pretty much the same. I mean, she's not going to have like a huge room, but she doesn't need that. She wants to be with us most of the time anyways. She just has a space to sleep, and that's all she needs. Sharon says, how are the cats doing and have they warmed up to Ember now that she's getting bigger? I have seen Halo in a few videos with Ember, but have not seen BB lately. FYI, I am pro doors on the bathroom area in case there's company around. Laugh out loud. Well, first, we will have some type of door on the bathroom. We'll definitely have some privacy back there, which you guys will see once we move in and get everything settled. As far as the cats go, Halo is doing slightly better. She is still a little bit afraid of Ember, but BB, the reason why you never see her out here is because she just doesn't really like to be outside. So when we're here, she just stays in the office, which is where, Ember and I hang out. And BB loves hanging out with Ember. She warms up to her more and more as time goes on, and she will play with her toys and she'll lay down next to her. So BB is definitely warmed up a lot more, and it is continuing to warm up. Halo is just going at a much slower pace. Brenda says, I love watching your family. The bus is beautiful. I know you're protective of Ember. I know she'll be pulling up and walking soon. Have you thought about a barrier for the stove? So as far as that goes, we really aren't going to be using that wood stove very often. And when we do use it, we are just going to be obviously extremely more aware of Ember, where she's at and what she's doing. We are going to have an area where we can kind of block her off. So we'll have like baby gates that we can pretty much put wherever we want throughout the whole entire bus, and like have her in a little area. So if we had the wood stove going, if we weren't holding her over here, she would be in her little play area that would start from this wall to where the bathroom and the shower start. Her area would stop. So she wouldn't be able to go to the bathroom or the shower area, and she wouldn't be able to come past the stove, so she couldn't touch it. And if she was out here, she would be hanging out with us, and we would obviously keep an eye on her and not let her get to the stove. And like I said, we are not going to be using that very often, only in like emergency situations, like if the diesel heater and the Propex heater weren't enough, which I don't necessarily think that that's really going to be an issue, or if like we were caught in a snowstorm and we ran out of fuel for those heaters and we couldn't drive anywhere, we would have the wood stove to rely on. So it wouldn't be something that we're burning all the time, all day. That's more of an emergency heating source and not a primary heating source. So we probably won't use it as often as I feel like some of you think that we are. So Ember burning herself there is not necessarily something that we think is really going to be that much of an issue. Juju Gypsy Journey, are you putting a lagoon table in the bus with a couple different mount places? Yes. So we'll definitely have one here on this couch. We might have one over here on this couch, but this is probably where we'll use our lagoon mount table the most, is on this couch over here. And you also said y'all need a surface for work because I'm not seeing a workspace for y'all's creative sides. I know you liked your desk area in peach for a dedicated workspace. Maybe a pop-up or down little table area might come in handy. Are you going to mount your guitar on the wall somewhere for easy access? So yeah, we'll have the lagoon mount table. I think in the past, when we've done trips in like our project buses, Isaac usually uses the lagoon mount table to do all his editing and all his work. I'm more of a cuddle up in bed and do my work in bed, so I'm probably going to do all of my editing, all of my work in bed, which is normal for me, which is what I do. Yeah, we'll have that space, but that's what I like to do, is work in bed. And on occasion, when I want to just sit at a table and work, I have the lagoon mount table to do so. Are you going to mount your guitars on the wall somewhere for easy access? So Isaac and I both have guitars, and I honestly have no idea where we're gonna put them. So you'll just have to stick around and see what happens, because I don't have an answer other than I don't know for that question. Make sure you do a deck now or you'll regret it. I'm not sure when we're gonna do the deck. I don't know if we're gonna do it before or after our trip, but it will be getting done before summer for sure. Christine said, as I was rewatching the accent wall short video, I suddenly thought how great that would look with dark green or orange rust instead of black. Then I wondered why you didn't do orange, because I know you love your orange rust colors, and I think I recall seeing them in Schooliana too, so Isaac must love them too. Anyways, I was thinking how well those colors would go with the river rock and the live edge too, and keeping the nature theme. I like the black, but just curious if you considered another color. Just over here pondering the possibilities, laugh out loud. The reason we went with black is because the main core themes are natural wood, black, and stainless steel. So all of our appliances are black and stainless steel. Our door locks are black, and that's why we went with the black, because we wanted it to look very clean. And yes, Isaac and I both are huge fans of like the orange rust colors, and I also like green too. So we'll definitely incorporate a lot of those pops of colors in the decorating aspect of the build. So once we move in and we are putting decorations up, that's when you'll start to see those pops of colors. But once the bus is done and it's bare, those are the bare primary colors, are natural wood, black, and stainless steel, and we wanted to keep that very just clean. So that's why we didn't do any other color besides black on these back accents. We were going for a specific look. Gail says, do you guys have a travel plan on where to go visit first? How long in each state, or are you just going to wing it? I think our plan is, obviously once the bus is built and we move in, we are going to take a trip and just take a break from building. So we're going to take a trip. I don't know how long that trip is going to be. It will be in Oregon, and then we're going to come back, build Minion out to sell it, and then hit the road for a decent amount of time. I think too, as far as what states and how long we'll be there, I think we both definitely, especially this summer, want to spend most of our time here in Oregon. This is such a beautiful state, and when we did our 7 Wonders of Oregon trip, it was in the wintertime, and we really didn't get to enjoy a whole lot of the places that we went to visit because everything was frozen, which made some of the stops very difficult, and we couldn't even get to some campsites. So I think that we are going to spend some time in the state of Oregon and really soak it up, and then once we get outside of Oregon, we're going to do the same thing for certain states anyways, and we are definitely going to wing it. We won't have any type of game plan. There are certain places that we do want to go, but we don't know how long we're going to stay. We don't know where we're going to end up. We don't want it to be like a thing where we plan too much. We just want to go and enjoy being on the road, and we want to stay somewhere for a week, and then we get there and we love it and we want to stay longer, we will. Or if we get there and we plan to be there for a week and we hate it, we'll leave. So it's all up in the air. Miss Kareen said, is there anything from yours and or Isaac's original van builds that you have continued to do in this build? Is there anything you would never do again? I think as far as Isaac's builds go, I don't think there's really anything in this build that he did in Schooliana. I think it's completely changed. But as his builds have progressed in the project builds, we've taken a lot of those aspects and brought it in here. Oh, the one thing that did stay that he brought from Schooliana was the epoxied live edge countertop. And then from the project builds is the pre-finished maple framing and the pre-finished maple look. So instead of framing with 2x2s and 2x4s, we framed with the 3/4 inch plywood, the pre-finished plywood, and it makes just the building easier, lighter. There's a lot of benefits to doing it this way. Just depends on what you want, what you prefer. As far as my build, from the original van, if I could go back, my first van, that was not built for van life whatsoever. And so there's a lot of things that I would have changed. I would now, if I knew what I know now, I would have changed. So I definitely don't think I brought anything from that build. And it was a very basic build. I had no electricity, no water, no refrigerator. It was very rough. So the only thing I had from that build that's in here is the cedar tongue and groove. And then as far as the peach goes, I have the pre-finished plywood, just like you see here, in there, and very basic plumbing. I tried to run that off of a power station, which I'm thinking I might have to just put in an actual electricity and like an actual electrical system in there. So not a whole lot of things from the peach build either. I mean, besides the pre-finished plywood and again the cedar tongue and groove. But we did not do that on the ceiling. We did shiplap on the ceiling. The Rosary lady said, "Hi there, I'd like to ask who is insuring the bus and do they have restrictions on each vehicle, full-time bus living, getting proper insurance? I'm having such a hard time getting loans for a full-time RV living in Texas. Love your channel. Been watching since the old days before your van. Peace." We have State Farm, and the guy who we go through only does Oregon insurance. So if you're out of sight of Oregon, he can't help you. And I know that a lot of people do have a hard time getting insurance for a bus because it's not technically an RV. So I don't know. Especially being in Texas, I have done research in Texas because I was going to try and get my bus registered as an RV in Texas. I don't know about how insurance goes. I've only ever had the insurance here in Oregon. And like I said, he can only help you if you are in Oregon. So I'm not sure, but if anyone is watching and they are from Texas and have insurance on your built out rig, feel free to leave some tips and comments on that in the comment section for the Rosemary lady. Deborah said, Where are you guys planning to go on your first outing? So I think for our first trip, we were planning to go to the coast. We're going to visit our friend Josh, who did a lot of helping with this build, and then we might head south to the Alvord Desert. Other than that, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air. We're not exactly sure what and how long we're going to be on the road. Skirt Skit said, with the new rulings on videoing and national parks, has this affected your travel destinations? Do you have thought plans for a piece of property? So I think a lot of people have been freaking out about the no filming in national parks. And I think that when you're actually on the road and you're traveling, a lot of people think that all you do is go to national parks, but there's so much more than the national parks. Of course, we're still going to go, and if we can't film there, fine, we'll just go and enjoy it for what it is. But there's so many other places that you can go that are not national parks that are beautiful places, especially here in Oregon. So it's not going to affect our travels. It's just going to affect like us not being able to film that for a vlog, which is no big deal. Sue Wagner says, Hi Jaylena, I love what you guys have done with the bus, but there is something that doesn't make sense to me unless I'm misunderstanding. Why is Ember's car seat not going to be facing where you will be sitting on the bus? I get that it may have to be facing backwards, but couldn't you guys have switched it to the other side? So when Isaac and I were doing the seat belts, I thought about that for a second too, because it makes sense for her to face me, even though she has to face backwards. So if I sat on this side and she sat on this side, she would be facing me, which, yes, that makes sense. But when she's bigger and old enough to face forward, we want this to basically act as like the back for her car seat. So when she's facing forward, she'll be facing me, but for now she's going to be facing backwards just because that's how she has to sit for legal purposes. And the reason why it matters right now is because my seat belt comes from the back and clips forward because I'm sitting sideways. She is sitting front to back. So her seatbelt has to come from each side and clip together in the middle. So we would have to like redo the seatbelts when we changed her car seat, which is not something that we want to do. This is where all of our electrical is, and we basically couldn't move the seatbelts once that was in. So, I mean, I can still see her. It's not that big of a deal. She's gonna be fine. And then once she is old enough to face forward, she'll be facing me at that point. So that's the reason why we didn't do like you're saying and have her face me right now. It just, in the long run, it made more sense to have this as a back for her car seat, because we couldn't do that with her in the front. Donna says, do you plan on homeschooling Ember? With the schooly lifestyle, seems like it would be easier to homeschool so you guys get to continue to travel. Traveling or not, I plan on homeschooling Ember, and then as she grows older, if she decides she wants to go to public school, that'll be her decision, depending on what the world is like at that point. Leanne said, did you figure out Ember's bed area? What kind of foods are your favorite? We think we might have figured it out, but you guys will have to wait and see for that. And you said, what kind of foods are your favorite? I don't know if you mean mine or Ember's. I'm going to assume that you mean Ember's. And she right now is warming up to fruits. She did not like fruits at first, so she's eating more fruits now, but she loves her greens, she loves vegetables, she likes the baby food meat, which grosses me out, but she does, and she needs her iron. She likes the baby rice that has strawberries and bananas. Mary said, gorgeous picture. My question is, when you finish your big trip, are you going to build a base camp dwelling? If so, where? In between both of your families or in the land that you bought? Our goal, once we're done with our big trip where we're on the road for a while, we're hoping by the time we're done being on the road, we'll be able to buy property where we want and more so of what we want. We don't necessarily plan on living on the property that we bought here. We want more land, and we want it to be a little bit more secluded and not in the same town that we have the other property in. We want it to be a little more rural. Holly White said, question, would you change anything on your new bus or keep it the same? There's not one thing that I would change in this bus. Sonoma Mom said, my question, and this is a big one for you guys, when are y'all getting married? Right now, Isaac and I aren't necessarily concerned or even thinking about marriage. We have a lot of other stuff going on in our lives right now, and I don't know if we will ever get married. That's something that, I don't think either one of us is necessarily prioritizing right now. It's just a piece of paper. I think our relationship is a lot deeper than that, and we don't need that to feel like our relationship is valid. We might get married one day, we might not. So I guess you guys will just have to stick around and see if we ever do. Lynn says, how has the weather affected your work on the bus? Well, we have this big shop that we work in, so the weather hasn't necessarily affected it too much. It just sucks working in the cold, and that's what we're working with. We're just in the cold, but at least we're not outside in the elements. Jason said, do you enjoy driving the big bus? I have driven the big bus, and it is it's a lot less intimidating than it looks. So I was afraid to drive it, but once I was in the driver's seat driving it around, it really wasn't that bad. So yeah, I enjoyed driving it, but I'm sure Isaac will probably do most of the driving. And for now, I'll probably be following behind him in the Jeep anyways. So to answer your question, yeah, I think it's really cool and fun to drive it. I would never want to drive anything bigger, or longer, I should say. But I was very intimidated by it, but it's not that bad. So I think that is going to wrap up this video. I think I got to most of your questions, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if I didn't answer a question that you wanted answered, please feel free to leave it in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to get those answered for you there. And again, please let me know your thoughts on the paint job. We love it, and we're so excited, and I can't wait to hear from you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Y'all are the best. We love you, and I can't wait to see you on the next video. Who knows what that'll be? I think it might be the shower doors. That turned into a whole mission, which you guys will see next week. So, we'll see you then.